What's up everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be having a cup of tea with you and also reviewing a brand new EP from Jared Dines and Austin Dickey. So if you like those guys, or if you like metal, or if you like H.P. Lovecraft, stay tuned for the EP review. Before I get started today, I have a couple of updates I want to give you guys. The most important thing right now is that I recently opened a Patreon page, and on the Patreon page you can support my music in some way. Exclusive rewards include, signed prints, access to demos and new music that I put out, digital artwork that I've done. At the top tier there actually is free admission to a show of your choice with a backstage pass. It's a really great community, so I would be really excited and humbled to have you on board. The other thing that I have done recently that's, I think, pretty cool is I opened up a merch shop. The merch that I'm selling right now is t-shirts, hoodies, notebooks, coffee mugs, stickers. If you are interested in that, or if you are just curious to see what it looks like, head over to my website. There will be links to both my Patreon and my website in the description. So now that we've gotten the boring stuff out of the way, have a sip of tea, and I'm going to talk about this amazing EP that I just got in the mail yesterday. So the CD that I got yesterday in the mail is called Colors of Grimm by Keillen Allith. Keillen Allith is the collaboration project between Jared Dines and Austin Dickey. They came out on YouTube, but I resisted listening because I had ordered a physical copy of the CD. So it came to me in this here padded envelope, and I ripped into it without you last night. And the CD is signed. I did get the signed version of the EP. On the back you've just got the track listing, and then the disc has pretty much the same artwork. I think it kind of looks like Austin. I can't decide if he's wearing armor or if he has blonde hair. Maybe they can help me out with that, but I think it looks like Austin, like about to slay a dragon or something. Because there are no liner notes with just the card sleeve CD, I went on Jared Dines' YouTube page, and all 6 of the tracks are posted as lyric videos, which are actually pretty well done. So I enjoyed watching them while experiencing the tracks for the first time. Overall, I really enjoyed this. This surprised me, actually, because I wasn't sure. They hadn't done anything like it before, and I usually like the stuff that Jared Dines puts out, and Austin Dickey's vocals are like off the charts, but I wasn't really sure what it was going to be like when they sat down together and wrote something, so I really didn't have any, I guess, preconceived notions as to what it was going to sound like. I did kind of cheat, and I listened to the first track, Golgoroth the Grey, on YouTube the day that it came out, and it's not my favorite track on the album. Like, I listened to it and I was like, okay, this is alright. It didn't grab me. The whole thing comes together. It's a very cohesive project, and if you listen to a track in isolation, it can seem like, what is this? They definitely do stand on their own, and some of the tracks are stronger than others, but initially I was like, I'm not sure if I like this. Once I did sit down and listen to the entire album, though, my favorite tracks on the album are In Pesca the Indigo, which is chapter 3, and let's see if I can say this, Zoggatha Void X. Those are really probably my favorite tracks in terms of sound. I also really liked Rogog of Ruby, but for a different reason, which I'll get into in a minute. The reason that chapters 3 and chapter 6 really stood out to me is because this is the first time I've heard Jared Dines really explore soundscapes. He's a very prolific artist, and I haven't heard everything he's done, but for the most part, what I've heard, like on the Light EP and the Dark EP that he put out last year, it's pretty traditional metal instrumentation, guitars, drums, vocals, some sound effects, but not a whole lot of like atmosphere setting and, additional programming and stuff. So, in Pesca the Indigo, it sounds very nautical. It just creates this feeling that you are sailing over this dark, stormy ocean, and in the final track, it's good at giving you that feeling of just like being out in this abyss, you know, and it sets the mood in a way that I haven't seen Jared Dines do before, and I really liked it. I was surprised because it was new, but it was a good surprise. Jared Dines is responsible for the music. Austin Dickey is responsible for lyrics and vocals. At least this is what I understood from reading the descriptions on the YouTube videos, since there are no liner notes. Usually when there's a storyline going on in a metal album, I don't like it. In the past, when I've listened to those types of albums, they've come across as being kind of campy. They're all about like high fantasy and adventure and stuff, and I was like, I don't know about this. But the storyline of Colors of Grimm is based on H.P. Lovecraft and his mythos. If you don't know who H.P. Lovecraft is, he's kind of a big deal in early 20th century weird fiction, pulp fiction. If you like weird tales with kind of a supernatural bent and a heavy dose of mental illness, check him out. It's interesting stuff. Once I got to the second chapter, Rogog of Ruby, the Lovecraftian influences were like really coming through, not just in the content, but in the way that the scene was described. Just very vividly. It was like Lovecraft a lot of times will spend several paragraphs describing the way a scene looks and feels and smells and sounds, and it's very lush. And these lyrics are very much the same way. Like, they really paint a picture, and by the time I got to the second track, I was really wishing that somebody had done like artwork for all of the different songs, or somebody could like make a graphic novel out of this. Like, it's so intensely visual, but you can imagine it so clearly because he's described it really well in the lyrics. I would actually recommend watching the videos through if you're going to try to experience the album for the first time, because in the description you've got kind of a prose version of that chapter of the story, and then the lyrics kind of describe it in, you know, a little bit more of a dramatic way. The story takes a lot of like really unexpected turns and stuff, like many Lovecraft stories do, and I appreciated the nods to Lovecraft in a lot of direct and indirect ways. There's, you know, obviously he talks about the mad god Azathoth. There's a reference in the last track to At the Mountains of Madness. If you know Lovecraft, it's right there. But, you know, the storyline's also filled with, you know, obelisks and monoliths and old ones and, you know, all-seeing eyes and, you know, creepy monsters and names that start with X. I think this would have made Lovecraft proud. I do know what it's kind of like to attempt to write in that style, and it's not easy to pull it off. You know, it can get campy really fast, and even some of the Lovecraft stories themselves are a little campy. So for this to be pulled off in that style and not be just like a complete cornfest is actually kind of an accomplishment. So I'm really positively impressed by this little EP. The only complaint I have to make, and I hate to do this because I've been following both Austin and Jared for a long time, and you know, they put out good stuff. They're great musicians. But on some of the lyric videos, there were some pretty glaring like spelling errors. And it was almost like they got so excited about the music that they like typed the description really fast and like didn't proofread it. Like, I hate that that stood out to me so much. There were some spelling errors like actually in the lyric video, and I was like, what? To me, and it might not affect you at all as a viewer, some people probably don't really care. It's clearly a very cerebral thing that they've created here with the storyline, and yet there's these spelling errors and like grammatical errors that jumped out at me. That's not a real gripe, it bothered me a little bit when I was watching it, but you know, for a lot of viewers, they'd probably just be like, whatever. The other thing that I think would have been really good, and I did mention this earlier, would be if somebody would create artwork. like the depth of the project almost goes over your head unless you can read the story and read the lyrics and see, you know, what they're thinking. You know, I mean, the lyrics themselves almost paint the picture for you. So you can either have the story and the lyrics, or you can have artwork. But I think that a project like this really does need one of those things. You know, I produce my own music. I know how much it costs to get, you know, I know that putting a CD in a card sleeve is much less costly than getting a CD in a jewel case with a booklet. But I think for this one, it would be worth it to have a booklet so you can read the story, you can read the lyrics, and you can see the artwork. Like, I think that a project of this scale would really benefit from that, and I don't think that people would mind paying extra for it. Overall, I really enjoyed Colors of Grimm by Keillen Allith, and if you want to check it out, I'll put a link in the description if the CD is still available. If not, it's also available on iTunes. All the songs are there. And I'll also put links to the 6 YouTube videos so that you can watch the lyric videos and hear the songs yourself. If you have this CD or if you've heard the songs, let me know what you thought about it down in the comments. Yeah, I make videos on this channel. Not every week, sometimes not every month, but it happens. And I would love to have you on board for whatever I put out in the future. If you want to get a look at behind the scenes and hear snippets or whatever before anybody else does, make sure you click the link for my Patreon page. Thanks so much for joining me. Be sure to give this video a like if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to my channel if you like videos like this, and I will see you next time.